Hey everybody, it's Matt Williams and Kelly O'Keefe from Brand Federation back with another round of Brand Federation's Cold Takes. Kelly, we are going to wade into the swamp today. We want to talk to you guys about brand conviction, which is something we talk a lot about at Brand Federation. The idea that every brand needs to have a fundamental conviction that they live by and that they can articulate. We want to talk about brand conviction and the political vortex. If you're a chief marketing officer and you're sitting up at night thinking, how the hell can I manage my brand in an environment where everything is political? Do I have to respond to it? Do I have to change my behavior? How do I deal with this unique environment that we're all living in? That's what we want to talk about. So Kelly, let's just jump right in and go to the rub of this. If a chief marketing officer of a Fortune 100 company were to call you and say, Kelly, I don't know how to handle this stuff. What do you
Yeah,
tell them?
yeah, I think it's a great question. I think everybody is asking themselves that question. And I'm going to get right to the point. First, you avoid anything that characterizes the positions that your company takes based on right and left. Right and left change all the time anyway. Right and left is a political perspective. We as a country have become a little too obsessed by it. Instead, characterize it by right and wrong. What is the right thing to do? What is the wrong thing to do? And really lean toward timeless truths, whether that's the golden rule or whatever is the right thing for you. Lean into that. And then it's really important to affirm and codify your positions, your convictions, and your values. You need to do that on a regular basis. They need to be bulletproof and locked down. That doesn't mean they're based on what you did with a focus group to look at what somebody else's are. Think about what is true to your organization. We don't do a good job creating values based on focus groups on what do you want? Talk about what you think is important to the company. Once you've codified those convictions, take the step that almost no company does, which is to build a defense for those convictions, which can be simply writing a letter from the CEO. It could be an important part of a document that you send around related to your brand. But talk about why you believe those convictions are important, so important that they're worth defending, even in the event that there are headwinds that you're facing for those things. And if you've got those convictions locked down, if you built a defense for them, then be proactive with them. Don't just jump in and talk about them when you're in a defensive position. Talk about them proactively on a regular basis with your people and with your customers. Great brands do this on a regular basis.
It's so interesting and so important, especially in a time like this. And this is maybe the irony of this is that CMO who's wringing his hands or her hands and calling you in the middle of the night asking for advice about this is doing it because they wonder whether they should sacrifice their convictions and fundamentally change the behavior or the stance of their company. And what you're saying is absolutely not. The time for conviction is a time when things are as uncertain as they are now, when everything is politicized. This is the time when convictions matter. So stick to them more strongly now rather than being tempted to give them up.
Oh, absolutely. Just because the tide of public opinion might go in a different way for a period of time and push against your convictions doesn't mean to change them. As a matter of fact, if you change them because public opinion shifts, then they weren't convictions in the first place. Because the test of conviction is that you stick with them even when times are tough and you defend them. Don't just have them. Tell people you're wrong. Here is why we believe in these things.
That's the defense you're talking about, right? So you're making a principled argument about why in times like these, sticking with your convictions is more important than ever. I'll make a business argument for it, or at least a marketing strategy argument for it. We are all in this business because we believe an enduring brand contributes to the building of enduring value for an organization. You can't build an enduring brand if the foundation of your brand is built on public opinion that sways and moves the way the political public opinion moves right now. You need those convictions to keep you in a place where customers can know what your brand stands for, know what you mean, know what you care about, and make an informed decision about whether they want to associate with you or not. That's what brands are for. They're choice mechanisms. I believe that brands are business assets that can contribute to the growth of value over time. You have to have those convictions and you have to stick with them, or your brand is too weak to contribute to your business.
Absolutely. It not only gives a guidepost to your customers to say they're consistent about who they are, it gives a guidepost to your employees about being consistent about their behavior. And being consistent about your behavior, even if it's not entirely popular to everyone, is a great recipe for building a strong brand. We as humans are attracted to those who have convictions. So let's take Chick-fil-A. They're closed on Sunday. They have very strong religious convictions. But let me tell you, there are a lot of people who don't care about them being closed on Sunday who love Chick-fil-A. They would buy it on Sunday if they could, but they're okay that they're closed. In fact, they admire them because they're closed. You don't have to share someone's convictions to admire them for having them.
Yes, that's a really interesting point. So now if we look at what's going on in the world and the way companies and brands are behaving in this politicized environment, you start to see people who are jettisoning what they thought were convictions because they're trying to respond to the political environment that we're in. We see McDonald's walking away from DEI programs. One of the things we talk a lot about is the internal importance of the strength of your brand. The internal folks respond to your brand first and more strongly than the external customers do because they live with it. The internal people live with that brand 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. What do you think the people who work at McDonald's are thinking about McDonald's now? Now, I thought they cared about that. They made a big deal about it. Now they don't. I don't know who the hell this company is and what they care about anymore. Talk about the death knell for a brand. Inside, you're going to feel that in every interaction you have with McDonald's when you walk in and order food. It's not going to feel the same because the people behind the counter don't know what that brand stands for anymore.
And we've seen it with other brands. Bud Light lost 50% approximately of its market share. And Bud Light did not lose 50% of its market share because they had the wrong convictions. They lost it because they had no convictions at all.
I, that may be the mic drop. Like we're probably going to cut that and put it on LinkedIn so everybody can look at it again. Well, that's the point of this conversation. They didn't lose their market share because they had the wrong convictions. They lost it because they had no convictions at all.
And it should be liberating to brands. Like you don't have to live in fear of your convictions.
Right.
Stick by them. I know things are funky in the political environment, but consumers value companies that stand by their convictions and their values over the long term. So don't be afraid. Stick with it. Double down.
Yeah. And some companies have, right? Costco said, you know what? No, we're going to stick with this. We care about this. I'd sure as hell rather spend my time and energy building a Costco brand because I know what this brand is about than building a brand whose convictions sway in the wind. That's fearful. Like you said, I'm not super excited about working at that company or buying from that company because I'm not sure what it means now. That's the death of a brand. So boiling all this stuff down, we're in a that is so volatile and so confusing to so many people. It's reassuring actually from a marketing standpoint to have that set of convictions that you can always go back to, like a port in a storm, and say, all these conversations are going on. We know they can be uncomfortable. This is what we care about. This is what we stand for. And that's going to be true when the storm dies down. We're here because this is what we care about. And that can be a reassuring thing, not to mention a good business decision.
It's nice when it's good for business and it's good for you personally. And it makes it easier when you've got a guidepost. It's an easier company to run and be part of.
Brand conviction in the political vortex. This conversation can go on for days and it's going to go on for the next however many years, I'm sure. But it's fundamental to what we believe. We'd love to hear what you think about this. We know you've been thinking about it. Let us know how you feel about brands navigating this polarized political environment. You know what we think now. But thanks for tuning in for another Brand Federation ColdTake.